Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsyreplays. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the K91 back in stores for around 10,000 gold. So not bad. It's actually a really good price, or you can, I think, buy it with the SU for 15.5k. So both together, if Wargaming keep to their schedule, it's a really good buy for both tanks. 15.5k gold for both tanks is actually a very good price. Now the K91 is, in my opinion, one of the best heavies in tier 9. After they buffed it, after they gave it more alpha, it has become a really strong tank. Now the turret is super troll, 220 millimeters armor on your turret, 120 on the hull, and on the side of the turret 140, on the rear 120. So all around, I mean, the side's 100 and the rear is 100. So all around, actually very good armor profile. There are some weak points, of course, on the turret. But you're going to have weak points. Now the DPM is really good for an auto loader at 2,700. You take the AMX 5120, for example, is around 2,300, 2,400. So it does have better DPM than other auto loaders. Now magazine reload 16.3 seconds, and the shell is 3.5 seconds in between each shell. And of course it has 3 shells in your magazine. Penetration 260 on your AP is a bit lower than some, but I mean 340 on your heat gets through just about anything, to be honest. You don't need more than that. 350 alpha, where before it did 300, I think, something like that. So it received a massive buff. It really did receive a good buff. Aim time 3.7, not the best, and dispersion 0.326, not the best, but you know, not the worst. And it does have 7 degrees of gun depression, and it goes a nice 40 kilometers an hour as well. So not bad at all. So we're going to watch a couple of games just to show how good the K91 is. And first up, we're going to watch Frosty. We're just going to fast forward again. We're going to fast forward it a little bit. So it is Castilla, and he's gone to the middle here. I like this position. I really like this position. But if you get caught out, or if you can, sometimes you get caught out, get into this position, and you can actually lose quite a lot of hit points. So it's a very risky position to get in. But if it works, it really does work. Now I do prefer getting into this position, the other side, from the other side of the map. So just opposite here, sort of down there by that building, when you're sort of spawning the other side, then this position. But when I'm in a fast heavy tank, I do try and get into this position as much as I can. If your team helps you, especially, there's no medium tanks. There is absolutely no medium tanks. So getting into this position was actually a really good opportunity for him, because there's quite a lot of heavies. The likelihood that the game will be this side of the map was quite high. Of course, they have 3 TDs, so there's quite a lot of TDs. So getting into this position, you're also getting away from those TDs as well that are camping. So really good position. Really is a good position if depending on what the team does, of course, and if your team are there to support you. Now unfortunately, it would have been good if there was maybe one medium on the team, because it would have put a lot more pressure on these guys, especially like the IS-7 from the church. But you know, it is what it is. So the E100 has decided to push here as well, which you do often see. Pushing where the E100 is again a great position. But unfortunately for that E100, we have Frosty here that is keeping him spotted and keeping him open for his team to shoot him. So he's not able to play as aggressive as he is. And of course there is the Object 260 there as well. So gets a nice shot and a nice miss from the E100. He's totally ignoring the Object 260 at the minute because he wants to get that damage into the E100. Does get a nice bounce. So already, I mean, in this position, he's got 2.5k damage almost. There is now 3 tanks here. He does get shot from the Object 704. So he needs to be careful, but he does have his team behind him supporting him. So he's not looking at running away. He's looking at staying here. As long as his team support him, then he can still have a really good game. And at this point, it doesn't really matter too much about damage. He's already done his part. He's opened them for the enemy team, or for his team, sorry. And I mean, if they really wanted to, they could push the IS-7. We know that there is one TD here in the middle, so that's one TD that's not camping. But of course, when there is the two other TDs, and we know that one of them is in that camping position, it does scare you a little bit into pushing, because yeah, it's one of the best maps for camping TDs, apart from Dead Rail. This is one of the only other maps that is just perfect for camping in a certain position and not getting spotted. When it works, it really does work, and it's beautiful when it does work. We've seen a lot of damage on this map from TDs that are just sat on the hill. So the E100 decides to push forward. Worst mistake he has ever done, because what for? What did you do that for, E100? There was no, I mean, you just went there to lose your hit points and potentially lose the game for your team. When, I mean, he could have just relocated. He knows he couldn't really do much where he was, but he decides to just walk in and get absolutely ripped apart. So at this point in the game, there is just one heavy left, which is the object, which is the IS-7, which we know is a one-shot, and there is then the 3 TDs. 2 of them is camping, and the other object 704, which we know is in the middle here around this area. So at least we now know where 2 TDs are. There's just one that he needs to search for, which is the object 268. We haven't seen him all game. There he is, and he has now just dropped down as well. So he is now he's now safe. He might get shot once from this object 704, but he is going to get a nice bounce there. But he's now on a reload, so he's going to have to push. But at this point, it's a 3 versus 3. Pushing this object 704 is the best option he can do, especially as we know that there is no more campy tanks on that top, because the waffle, I believe, dropped down. There's the waffle, so he has to now back up out of the way from the waffle. He gets a bounce from the object 704. I quit. I mean, it doesn't matter if you quit, you was dead anyway. So now it is a 3 versus 2. The object 268 is capping the base, so he's now just going to sit. He's going to be patient. He's going to reload his magazine, and once he reloads, he's going to try the HE there. Couldn't really, doesn't really pay off with the HE. So he's just going to switch to the AP, and now these guys are chasing the AMX, so he is now just going to poke up. Of course, he still has to be very careful, as his waffle is a one-shot, and he's literally the other side of the map. So he realizes, and I love this play, like he was going to play a bit aggressive, but then he just looks around. You can see I'm not doing the camera movement, that this is all him. He looks around to see where his teammate is, and he decides, okay, I'm not in a safe position to rush. I'm just going to wait for them to make the mistake. So he gets a nice shot there. You can see him trying to bait a shot from that 268, which actually works. Nice high roll, and if he's able to get this guy this shot off, now that object 268 is just a magazine, so he's just going to have to fire 3 shots, and that he will be dead. So they have 2 cap points now, so that's actually putting pressure on these last two red team. So if the waffle was to flank around, I think the waffle at this point should just flank around. They can't get C. Yes, they can't get C, but we don't care about bases at this point. So he does get shot from the object 268, does get a shot in return. He has 2 shells loaded. He has to make sure these count and not bounce, because if he gets the bounce, but it doesn't matter, time has run out, but they win on supremacy points because they have more points. So GG, unfortunately, could have got a bit more damage, but he put himself into a lovely position, and because of that, he got a nice amount of damage. So GG Frosty, and thank you for sending me that replay in. So next up, we're going to watch the surprised Chemist, and he is on Hellas. And again, when you're in tier 8 in this tank, it's such a lovely tank. It really is. And as you can see there from the game we've just watched from Frosty, it can still hold its own in tier 10. Most tier 9s can, to be honest. Most tier 9s, there's only 1 or 2 that is not really good enough for tier 10. Maybe the M46 pattern, maybe a couple of other tanks, but I can't really think of any. The 120 is not good enough for tier 10, but most other tanks are good enough to perform in tier 10. So if they're good enough to perform in tier 10, when you're in tier 8, it just makes the tank so much better. And for me, the K91 is no exception. great. It's a great tank, and for the price, if you do have that gold sitting around, I'm not going to sit there and say, guys, you have to buy this tank, because I have been labelled a wargaming salesman in the past. But I'm here just to tell you when there are good deals, and for me, this is a good deal. So if you do have 10,000 gold just sitting around, laying around, then you're not going to buy much better tank than the K91. If you do want to buy it, you're getting a really, really nice tank for a really good price. If you don't want to buy it, then don't buy it. You don't have to. I'm not trying to sell you it. If you guys think I'm a salesman, I'm literally saying, if you haven't got the money, don't buy it. What a salesman that is, eh? I should be saying, go get your mum's credit card to buy this tank because it's fantastic. No, I'm not. I'm literally saying, if you have the gold and you're thinking about using the gold, or you've saved the gold, it could be from watching the daily videos for a work here. If you've got 10,000 gold laying around and you're thinking about what to spend that gold on, I mean, honestly, the K91 is a good investment. It really is. It's a fun tank to play. It does the damage, and for me, it is one of the best tier 9s in the game. You do have a couple of other. I like the Conqueror, for instance, and of course you have the Waffle in tier 9, but that's a TD. As for heavies, I honestly think the K91 is the best heavy in tier 9, and for 10,000 gold, I think that's a pretty good buy. But what I love about the K91 is it's not OP. It definitely isn't OP. So don't sit there and think like you're going to buy the K91 and you're going to do amazing because it's OP. It's not OP. I think it is completely balanced. I just think it's super strong. It is super strong in the right hands, but it's not unbeatable. I mean, you can easily pen it. You can easily destroy it. So yeah, it's just, for me, it's just a really, really good tank, and I don't want you guys to miss out on that opportunity to buy it if you do have that gold sitting around. Honestly, it's a fun tank to play. So at this point, this game, pretty quick game to be honest. He's on 4 kills now. He has lost a little bit of hit points, but there's just 3 tanks left alive. He's on a reload, and hopefully he can reload as soon as possible to get rid of this Super Persian that is really just pissing him off. He does manage to clear him. The K91 is a one-shot. He manages to clear him as well. So what I love about auto-loaders, especially ones that do 350 alpha, is the clear-up. Is clearing up tanks. If there's 3 tanks on a one shot, you can literally clear them up in sort of 7 seconds. So yeah, it's a good tank, guys. It really is a good tank. So if you do have that gold sitting around, you're going to get, you're not going to get much better tank than the K91. So we're going to end here. He is going to rush forward. He can actually take a shot or 2 from this IS-6. He is now a one shot, and he does clear him. So that was pretty quick game for the damage he gets. I mean, still 4.7k damage, and he gets the 7 kills. So a well-deserved ace there. Nice amount of credits earned, and he gets the Rizani medal as well. So I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. I am meadsy69, and I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.
With